We are here in the beautiful home of Ronnie and Jerry Guidroz, and we have been so honored to spend time with them. Hope King, our family, drove us here today, and we just had the most glorious time. But I asked Elder if he would just talk, just give us some insight into some of the days that he's lived that were so difficult, like maybe even impossible situations. And actually, we were kind of involved in a situation like close at that time, and we were going through some really difficult times with one of our children, and so it really gave us a bond, didn't it, Elder?
Right.
And so I've asked him if he would just talk about how he and Jerry, how they navigated through such difficulty with their children. And I wanted him to just tell us and then give us and the rest of the story, like Paul Harvey. So anyway, Elder, just talk to us about that particular time in your life.
Well, what I remember was how much we leaned on y'all during that time to pull us through and, to be our forerunner, so to speak. Because you were going through the same challenges.
Yeah.
And it's a common challenge of our day.
It is.
It's a part of the end time prophecy is children having division with parents and the heartbreak.
You gave us hope.
And
Thank
you
Jerry.
gave us hope and direction, and you gave me some sharp words of encouragement and wisdom, and you can't discredit loyal friends during times of darkness. We can't. God didn't design it for us to do it by ourselves.
That's true.
And we did not make it by ourselves. We give God the glory and give y'all and our dear friends help. Y'all helped us.
So
And Brother Kilgore, he helped me. He called me and told me he'd heard. He was at midnight. He called me one night. He said, "I hear about you praying," and he said, "I want you to obey me and don't pray anymore. Just rejoice at what God is doing." I said, "Dad, I can't quit praying." He said, "Well, I'm telling you to start praising God for what He's doing behind the scenes, because God's working behind the scenes." And of course, he had me in touch with some pastor friends that really helped me during that time, because you're pretty well, when you're in a situation like that, you're by yourself.
So the situation was really betrayal from one of your children.
It was separation because of the marriage and the boys and what my daughter was going through, putting her husband through college and cleaning 2 houses a day and not being able to keep enough money for a Coke. And it was a tough time. And so she separated from us. And that lasted for 2 years.
So
The counselor told us it was because she was just mirroring our example. You just make it work. And the counselor said that's what she was doing.
We stuck out life in the hard times, so that's what she's doing.
okay.
And so she wanted her marriage to work so much that she,
Even with abuse or
with
whatever.
abuse, she wanted the boys to have a father.
Got it. Yep.
And he gave her high hopes of wealth and riches and being a doctor. of chiropractic, and we could not stop the process. She was being abused. The boys were being abused, and we did not know about it because we lived in Houston. They lived in Dallas, and finally, she called me and said, "Dad, I need you to come immediately and pay for the divorce." So within about 12 hours, I was out on a fishing trip with my two brothers out in the Gulf, and got in, and I hurried up, and I got there in time I paid for the divorce. I paid for 3 divorces. She made me take from this third one, but she was determined to make her marriage, and so the only thing to be comfortable for her was isolation, and they didn't live but 2 miles away, but we still couldn't see them, and we craved to see the boys.
Oh my goodness, yes.
The
And,
counselor also told us that if she came out of the third time going back, it would be a miracle for her to come out alive. And we believe that it was our prayers that kept her
Absolutely.
alive.
And finally, she went back after the first divorce. She went back after the second, and on the third one, she didn't make it. She didn't let it. What was it?
It's the second one didn't go through.
Second one didn't go through, but the third one, okay. And so we were able to. The policeman that lived below in the apartment heard so many screams that he asked her if she needed help, and she did. So he helped move her out, him and his wife, and that's been 20 years, and they're still best of friends. So what it does to your heart as a parent.
Yeah. Talk to us about that.
You you can get angry, or you can just pray, like I said, Jerry. There is nothing 10,000 hours of prayer won't take you through.
That's true.
And we just prayed and prayed and prayed, and somehow God intervened, and she called and asked if she could eat with us, and we did. And I said, well, I promised I'd never say I told you so. I just am here to help. And so.
So that was 2 years of not
2 years.
seeing her or the
That's
or
right.
the grands. That's so hard.
No fellowship. And they lived a mile or 2 away from us. So I prayed for the Lord to give me. I told him I could live without a relationship with her. I finally had to come to that after 2 years.
Yeah.
It was driving me insane. I finally said, Lord, I can't live without you, but I can live without her as a relationship. But I ask you to give me, I'll bear the pain if you just give me a compassionate heart. That's all I wanted out of it. And he did. He gave me a compassionate heart. And I'll never forget standing there, and I said, now, Lord, I am fellowshipping with your rejection. You were rejected by me. I feel rejected, and I'm going through the same pain that you went through. So we fellowshipped.
Wow.
I fellowship with his suffering for his rejection. It's painful.
Painful.
But we began to see improvements and changes, and
When you stopped praying for her and you started
so
thanking
just
God.
thanking God, just praising Him for what He's doing behind the scenes. There's nothing we could do.
What an extraordinary lesson.
Well,
Brother Kilgore called you and said, quit praying.
He was going outside in the middle of the night
1 o'clock every
and
morning.
just screaming.
I just felt catapulted out of bed to go outside, and I screamed to the stars. I mean, I was emotional. I mean, I'm human, but I was probably
Yes.
at my weakest point.
Of course.
And but somehow in his great majestic way, he has blessed us with a relationship and with,
So reconciliation and restoration,
Mhm.
both,
Right.
with that girl that you didn't see for 2 years. So what is where are we at now with relationship with her?
and you know, we could have been permanently angry,
Yeah.
permanently divisive, permanently accusatory, but we chose, you know, just to soft pedal it and don't dig it up, you know.
And she's married to a wonderful man that takes good care of her for 20 years now.
It's amazing. So the Bible says a soft answer turneth away wrath. And I think that scripture fits really well with the principle of what we're talking about here. You didn't accuse. You didn't like you said, I didn't say I told you so. But you just a softness and loving her.
Now, right before JT and Bessie Pugh died, we were preaching out there for them. And went by to visit, and she was lying on the couch on one end. Now, this is just a few days before both of them died within 36 hours.
Yeah, it's
They were
amazing.
lying on the couch. And Bessie had told me she'd call me over to her, and I mean, my ear wasn't but just 6 inches from her little lips. You could hardly hear her say anything, you know. And she said, Ronnie, you should have watched JT give up his ministry. She said he got out of bed, went in his office, sat at his chair, his desk. He looked all around, those 10 steel filing cabinets, and looked all around. And finally, he got up and went back to bed. She said he gave up his ministry. Well, this was just a couple of days later, and he was on one end of the couch and she was on the other. And Brother Pugh called me and Jerry Iron. Jerry, Brother Guidroz come.
Yeah, that's right. Everything was over.
So we went down to his face, and we were both right there at his face. And he said, now, Brother Guidroz, don't fuss with anybody, Brother Guidroz. Just forgive, Brother Guidroz, just forgive. Those were his last words
To us.
to us.
Don't fuss, just forgive.
A lifetime of relationship.
Wow, beautiful.
He preached her sister's funeral, mother's funeral. And it just, that is a major mandate that I have gotten, that I got from Brother Pugh.
Well, Elder, when you were going through this time and we were talking, there was actually some ministry that had really turned against you, turned away from you.
Yeah.
And these were people that you'd been in a relationship for your life, probably. And I remember when we were on the phone, you were weeping. We were weeping because it was hard to believe that friends
Yeah.
that you'd loved faithfully, loyally, in this particular season had turned their back on you.
Totally.
Totally. How did you navigate that, Elder?
It went from close, confidential relationship as a minister and as a man that I looked up to as a father. And it was not nearly every day on the phone, a minute or two, just trips together and meals, and several of us preacher friends would get together in that little group, and oh, it was so close.
So
And,
very intimate.
most intimate. And all of a sudden, when I walked out of the office, when I felt total abandonment, I told Jerry, and when I stood at that door, I said, I have never in my life felt more hatred than I do this moment. It was powerful.
It's a terrible day.
It was
Elder,
horrible.
I can't understand. Help me to grasp how you could spend a lifetime, a narrative, a history of deep, close, intimate, sacred circles of fellowship. And then there's a glitch with one of your children and sides are taken. I just don't understand.
There is no mental ability that I have to comprehend it. I can't put the pieces of the puzzle together. I had to do what Brother Pugh said and just forgive.
And that was long before Brother Pugh was
Yeah.
in the.
Wow.
Yeah, but Brother Pugh's was what, 6 years ago,
Yeah,
7?
5 or 6 years ago.
And this was back 20 years ago. But it all dovetails together because,
Yeah.
you're still dealing with, the last thing you want to do is be lost over
And I was
a
so
human
close.
tragedy. And if I had, I submitted myself to him. And
To your elder.
yeah, you tell me. I mean, I submitted. I read the other day that in the conduct of life, there is nothing that you perform that supersedes submission.
Whoa.
That's the most grandiose accomplishment in life, is submission.
Well, and I was so close, as close to the family, and
I know you were.
did
Yeah.
what most people wouldn't do for another.
Yeah. I know.
So it hurt both ways.
But as we're sitting here in this beautiful home, Elder, I just think because of your life of submission, I think because you've lived these principles, I think you are here to tell the story of what God does when we honor that principle, even when it hurts and it crushes us. Even when it doesn't look like there's going to be a good outcome.
I oversaw the honorarium of our district for ministers, and I applied to the district board for a banquet that I would oversee, which I oversaw several. But I asked for that permission to give a banquet after all of this happened.
Okay.
And also, asked him to go on vacation with several ministers together. So I'm not bragging. I'm not saying I have a forgiving heart, but I know when I pray, it never jumps up that this is something you need to take care of. This is an issue you've harbored. You've licked your wounds. You've got a root of bitterness.
Yeah.
Because if you ever get a root of bitterness, you never get over it.
It's done.
Yeah. Kenneth Haney told that one time to that, what was that Nate Wilson had, that global, I forgot anyway. He said, you'll never get over it.
PSR.
PSR, yeah. I said, you'll never get over getting, if you have a root of bitterness. I feel like my heart is pure, and I respectfully stood there and honored him. I was the last preacher that stood there and honored, and cheerfully did it. I mean, I'm not a show-off. I'm not trying to show off, but I know forgiveness is a big part of marriage and relationships. And,
Yeah.
you know, God expected Cain to work out his problem with Abel, no matter how jealous you are, how mad you are, how rejected you felt. You work it out, Cain. Because you can't love me around Abel. You got to love me through Abel.
Wow.
The man had a big offering, and Jesus said, put your check back up. You're mad at Joe Doe. We don't take money from mad people, so you go make things right with Joe Doe, because you can't love me around Joe Doe. You got to love me through Joe Doe. So forgiveness is a major part. And, you know, I am at a place, and I have been for several years, that I literally thank God for the trials of life. Because it worked out weaknesses in me that I didn't know I had. It revealed what was in me.
Wow.
Things I didn't want to know about.
Mm-hmm.
But it has a way of surfacing your character and your feelings. And
Like the hidden sins of the heart.
hidden sins. of the heart.
And those deep crushings reveal.
Mm-hmm. And then to start praying for the blessings of for that person. And I felt like that God used me to push as much favor and blessings as I could, you know.
So you were extraordinary exempling Job 42 with the friends and praying for them, blessing them. Would you say?
He was, and he honored that man until the day he died. Even went on a trip
Yeah, that's what he just
with him.
mentioned, said he went on it. So that's really
And gave him a good time. I made sure he had a good time. Because, boy, eternity's a long time to regret unfinished.
So, Elder, I see the evidence. Richard M. and I see the evidence of the character of Christ in you, because his character is forgiveness and compassion and grace and mercy. And if I ever took a lesson from anybody in this world, I take those lessons from you. You are the evidence that God can use those really dark crushings to make beautiful things happen in people's lives. And Richard M. and I, we love you and respect you all.
Oh, that's sweet. We love you all.
Any last
Y'all have-
words? Any
well-
last words on this? You might say to a
To
young
compare
person?
what we've been through with what y'all have been through is there's y'all have been through unbelievable heartache, but you've come through with victory and dignity. I'm proud of you.
Oh, my goodness.
Don't push yourself down. Remember, Paul said all of Asia. I started 10, what was it? He started 10 churches, but he wrote to 7. All of Asia turned against me. That's pretty tough. Start all those churches, not every one of them turned against me.
That is tough stuff right there.
Right.
And you know, I was with VA. I was with VA when he had a major crisis in the district. And I mean, he was head to head, and the district was as tense as it could be. Packed auditorium, and he was fixing to preach his district sermon. And my dad, I walked into his cottage, and he was bowed over the bathtub, vomiting blood. And he had no ulcer. The pressure was so good. He went to that pulpit, and he described the making of an atomic bomb to perfection. Every inch of it.
My goodness.
And he said the atomic bomb takes an implosion inside to make an explosion. And I mean, he just detailed it, the names of all the characters and the scientists and the atomic scientists. He was smart. But he said, the New Testament church, 65,000 people in Jerusalem. Samaria was going to hell. Judea was going to hell. No outreach evangelism. And God sent an atomic bomb by the name of Saul of Tarsus.
Did.
And he blew up the place.
Yes.
And they turned the world
Upside down.
But that sermon, I mean, your greatest sermons will come out of the deepest thoughts. Now that book, the books by Parker, Joseph Parker. One book is about apostolic life. He wrote 2 or 3 books on apostolic life,
Okay.
not the 27. That 27 is from Genesis to Revelation, not a commentary, but the sermons he preached from each chapter that he chose. And so it's 37 books of sermons and research, but it's not a commentary on each verse.
Okay.
Okay. But he wrote, and when I was recuperating from surgery, he wrote, revelation doesn't come in the thoroughfare.
In the what?
Thoroughfare.
Revelation doesn't come in the thoroughfare.
If you're in New York City and the horns are honking and buses are everywhere, you're not going to get a revelation from God. But your revelation will come in silence.
In silence. My God.
So when you slow down, and you know, I'm not an orator and I'm not a Bible researcher like I wish I were, but could be, but I've learned, you know, many of my nights are 2 and 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm not spiritual, but that's where I get my food, is in silence, quiet. Make sense?
But silence can be a really hard place, Elder. Silence
It
can be
is.
lonely. And silence can make you feel so isolated.
That's why friends and now church work. Church work, if a preacher talks about church, the church doesn't grow as fast as it does when he talks family. Bonding the body to the body.
It's
And-
crucial. It's imperative.
Like in y'all's church situation, the more theaters y'all have for fellowship, children having fellowship with children. Like Brother Carney had 2 big ball fields, stadiums, big lights. And kids don't play baseball hardly anymore. So he's turning one into a soccer field. So the kids can fellowship and
It's so good.
see.
Yeah.
You're constantly planning church activities for family.
For the family.
Family. So the more you talk family, the stronger. We have not preached in one church that has the family concept, basing it in family, that is not growing. It's a
key.
powerful key, bonding the body to the body. So that takes away a lot of the loneliness,
Today is February 16th, 2024. And we have been talking to Elder Ron Guidroz. He is a legend among the Apostolic Fellowship. He is a leader, a champion of the faith. And even at like 80 years of age, he is still championing causes. The Boys Ranch, and still traveling. Him and his wife Jerry are traveling and doing fundraising for saving the lives of these young men from all over the United States. But we've had a chance, an opportunity just to sit here in his living room with Jerry and Hope King, of course Richard M. is my famous cameraman. And we have been able to just talk about deep things. And I wanted to thank you, Elder. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
We love y'all, and grateful that y'all are carrying on, and your best days are probably ahead of you.
Well,
Nancy, if you look right behind you, Richard might want to take a picture of that. That's when he was inducted into the Order of the Faith, and that's his medal.
it's so beautiful. Okay, here it is. Hall of Fame, or Hall of Faith, Order of the Faith Award, Ron Leslie Guidroz. Man,
Donald
that's
Trump.
gorgeous.
Donald Trump just got